Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SOM TV podcast. I am your host, Jason Wise. On today's episode, I finally get to tell you something I have not been allowed to for quite a long time. While in Georgia on our second trip, I hope you guys have all seen our film, Echoes of Wine, that is now streaming on SOM TV and entering some very special screenings. While there on my second trip, I was given permission under a bit of an NDA to go into a cellar that potentially some of the bottles date back to the era of Napoleon. Certainly the Romanovs, who were the Czars of Russia, and definitely Joseph Stalin. And it is an incredible tale, one that involves world politics for over 200 years, the Nazis, the Russians, communism, and it's all contained in one 40,000 bottle cellar under the capital city of Georgia, Tbilisi. Now, I wasn't able to talk about this for a number of reasons. On today's podcast, I am going to have two people who were instrumental in the unveiling of this sort of quote-unquote secret cellar, and they are going to help me walk through what the possibilities and the possible stories of this incredible place are. Now, I do have to tell everybody, I'm also announcing a next big project that this is a big part of. We have a project that I have been making now for several years called The Secret Life of Wine. And it is one that I can't say a lot about, but I can tell you that we filmed in the secret archives of the Vatican. We filmed all over Venice, Italy, Pompeii, Italy, a number of places, including deep in the heart of Mexico. And it is an incredible tale that spans thousands of years. We also filmed in Georgia. And so a bit of a spoiler alert is that this cellar, its contents, and its story will be a big part of this movie. I was going to promote today's episode with a screening of my new film, Echoes of Wine, which is about Georgia and its 8,000-year history and its people. But that screening sold out in 24 hours. So unfortunately, I have nothing to promote other than to tell all of you we are working on more screenings of this, some live podcasts that I know you have all been requesting us do. Also, the new movies that we have coming to SOM TV. And a future episode in the next coming weeks, I will describe what's coming for the rest of this year. And it is probably one of the best slates we have ever had since launching. So without further ado, I want to welcome Irakli Gilauri, a winemaker from Georgia, and Alex Fondren, who really does it all, but I would say is in marketing. We are going to walk through this cellar. And for those of you who have SOM TV, please watch Echoes of Wine to get an idea of Georgia and the myriad of bonus features that we've already released on that platform. Without further ado, let's talk about the quote-unquote Stalin cellar, I guess we're going to call it. Here we go. It is an incredible pleasure and also quite a hangover to be sitting with the two of you guys right now. I am with Alex Fondren, PR, marketing. What would you describe yourself as?
PR and marketing.
PR and marketing. And Irakli Gilauri. I just want to take 1 second and before I let you guys speak, I want to say that I've never in my travels, in my wine life, met anybody like you, Irakli. There's nobody with the attitude, with the ability to drink as much. We're recording this from Tbilisi, the country of Georgia, where I came back for a second trip within 2 weeks for maybe one of the most special things that I've ever done. And Alex, you are here on a way larger thing than just PR and marketing. You are here as somebody who is a shepherd and ambassador of this incredible story we're about to talk about. But Irakli, you're here as somebody who I guess I don't even know. You're gonna tell the story of how the hell you made this happen. There's a cellar in the center of Tbilisi, underneath, mythic, that has been called things like Stalin cellar, Romanov cellar. For people that are in the wine business, in the wine industry, a collector, even if you're just like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade as a movie, you will find this story to be the most bonkers thing you've ever heard in your entire life. And I want to go to Alex first to just try to describe to me what this cellar is. I want you to start because for you as an outsider, as an American who is in Georgia working, what the hell are we doing here?
It's momentous. It's historic. I studied history in college, and I never thought that I would get an opportunity to experience anything like this. Yeah, essentially, there's a crazy cellar that's been hidden in Tbilisi and was just essentially uncovered a couple days ago. And we got to be a big part of that, thanks to our friend Irakli Gilauri here. Essentially, there's a Romanov cellar that Stalin had access to.
All right, so when we say Romanovs, we're talking about Tsar Nicholas, his father, the last emperors of Russia.
Most people are more familiar with the story of like Anastasia and Rasputin. Anastasia was Tsar Nicholas's daughter. And it was his cellar that had been passed down from his father and his father's father. And they had amassed a collection of about 100,000 bottles of Bordeaux. The Romanovs really enjoyed kind of partying in Western Europe. Famously, infamously, whatever it will be. Part of that was probably what inspired the Bolshevik Revolution in the first place.
Yeah.
Essentially, they had amassed the largest wine collection in the world at the time. When the Bolshevik Revolution happened, the Soviets got control of the cellar. They, kind of partied. They used to open the bottles, didn't really appreciate sort of fine wine at the time, and that was a big part of what they were really kind of railing against, right? But then Stalin, when he kind of took power, he's from Georgia. And the nice thing about him being from Georgia is that he had a real appreciation for fine wine. Georgia is the birthplace of wine. And every Georgian makes a little bit of wine. Every Georgian understands wine, and every Georgian loves wine. And Joseph Stalin not excluded. So he kind of blocked off the cellar. He understood what was in there. He kind of understood what, the Bordeaux was all about. Maybe added some Georgian wines into the mix as well. But what he kind of did was he helped preserve it because of his love of wine.
You don't find a story that involves what I think is the ending of the previous world, which is when kings and emperors ruled the world, into the Cold War and the Nazis, into the present day of today's geopolitics and turmoil. I mean, all of that is within this story, and that is, makes your head spin. It is a wild thing. Irakli, I want to ask you, as a Georgian, as somebody who grew up here, did people know this cellar was below the capital city? I mean, did you know about this, or is this just something that recently you found out about?
Actually, probably I found out it around 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. I thought this is a big treasure what Georgia has. I mean, most likely this cellar is one of the oldest cellars in the world available now. Maybe the oldest. So that was like a fascinating to access it. And then I talked with the government about opening the cellar and to have a wider public access or doing the auction of and attracting some of the fine wine lovers to Georgia, so that Georgia gets on the map of collectors map. Mm-hmm. And I think this is kind of me as a fine wine maker from Georgia. Probably I was fascinated with this whole story. So my mission was to uncover it for the rest of the world.
We have to get into what we think is in the cellar. There's, I don't want to swear here, but there's a lot of bullshit around this, and then there's also a lot of dreaming and interesting topics that I'm not sure we can. Look, we can't fact check any of this stuff at the moment, but what I will tell you is I've been in this place. We have a massive project coming. Holy shit, do we have a massive project coming. This place, to describe it, to walk in, there are cellars I've been to in Germany, in the Falls, and other places where they're dusty and there's cellar mold and they're interesting, they're labyrinthian. This is a cellar that is beautiful. There is this wrought iron gate that goes through the center of it. There are 2 stories to it, and it is meticulously organized. Now, on top of that is a lot of cellar mold, which I find to be beautiful. Yeah. There are cobwebs, but the brickwork, the masonry, all of this thing, it is a building that has to be, you literally cannot understand what it's like until you smell it, you're in there. That being said, I'm being told there is Chateau d'Yquem, there is Cheval Blanc, there's Rothschild, there's... Yeah. How old would these bottles be? If we were thinking the Romanovs, this would have to be, late 1800s?
So we have a list which was done in 2003. Mm-hmm. What bottles are there? And you have 1845 decams. You have
1845.
Yeah, you have some port 18th century.
Which would make sense. I mean, at that time, those were the great wines of the world.
Sure. To collect. Yeah. So you have the cognacs, which are 200 years plus old. There, so it's like it's mind blowing what the cellar has. So the government will do the study, and what we expect them to start auctioning out. So Sotheby's and other auction houses are interested to auction this out, and to participate in auction, to organize the auctions basically. So we expect in Tbilisi every year, every 8th of May is Georgia's National Day for the Wine, and around that date there will be the auction of these wines, and the money will go to study for viticulture and winemaking.
I'm going to pitch you something that has been racking my brain. I've talked to Alex about this off mic. I think, personally, and maybe I'm just like a history fan and, I like dad movies and things like that, but I think, honestly, if you were to take this entire cellar, carefully pack it up the way you would do with Picasso's collection or any art, I look at this as way bigger than wine. Yeah. And I'm often railing against things that are wine and being like, no, wine should be wine. And now I'm totally stepping over that because I think this is so much bigger. If you were to tour this cellar, take everything you can out of it and rebuild it as exact as you can as a traveling exhibit. And you could let people walk through the cellar and see. And maybe if you're lucky, have a guided tour or something that you could listen to. I don't think there's anything like this I've ever seen in the entire planet. To me, it's like going to see the exhibit for the Titanic, things brought up from the bottom of the ocean, or King Tut's tomb. Or I think it's at that level of importance for human history, and it is so much more important than wine. And wine needs something like this more than it ever has to remind people of how important wine is to the human fabric, our story, everything. So, I mean, I know the idea is to auction them off, and I know that the outcome is to build, you talk about building a university for winemaking and all of these things, which is so important. But you could also tour it as an exhibit for a year or two and then sell it. Maybe the wines would be worth more.
I think that you can do both.
Okay.
So basically...
Because I'm ready to quit my job and take people through a cellar as a job, just touring. I'll just take them through.
No, I think what you're saying, it's part of the history. It needs to stay. We are not saying that we want to auction the whole cellar. We want to auction small part of it. And basically we want to make a annual event that collectors, wine lovers would come together in Georgia and they celebrate the wine.
Oh, I see. So it's in tiers.
It should last I'm talking about auctioning 10 bottles per year.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not talking about auctioning the 100 bottles per year or 1,000 bottles. I'm auctioning, we would have 5 to 10 bottles auctioned every year.
Yeah.
And it's going to last forever.
Okay, I like this.
And there will be a part of the cellar, for instance, the one we visited together, which will be never auctioned. So there are the wines downstairs. As you know, there's 3 parts of the cellar. We only visited one part of the cellar.
Right.
That part of the cellar could be a visitor forever.
We should clarify there are tens of thousands of bottles.
Exactly.
Yeah. How many bottles? I'll ask you. I mean, I don't think either one. Nobody has the true answer to this, but how many bottles do you think?
We still need to count them all, but there's rumored to be anywhere between 20,000 and 40,000 bottles. The rumor is that there were 40,000 bottles to begin with. The cellar that I was referring to earlier, the 100,000 bottles got broken into thirds. And
so that was in St. Petersburg or Moscow?
St. Petersburg.
Okay, so in St. Petersburg, so they take they take this cellar, and this is on the eve of Nazi Germany coming towards Russia.
So fast forward from the Bolshevik Revolution, Stalin coming into power, kind of taking over the cellar. Yada yada. When the Germans were marching on Russia, that was when they realized that this was going to be a really kind of prime trophy for the Germans to take over. And so the rumor is that Stalin took the cellar, divided the cellar into thirds. He hid 1/3 in Crimea, and that became what's known as the Massandra collection, which that was, that's been auctioned off. That's a very known kind of historical cellar. The other third was lost. Apparently
I've
he
heard
sent
in
it
Siberia?
to Siberia, supposedly.
Well,
I know that's Irakli's next adventure.
We gotta find that. We gotta find
That's my next adventure, yeah.
Exactly. The other third, which a lot of people say, again, it's rumored that it was the best third, he hid in his home country of Georgia. And he knew about this winery. It's called Winery Number 1, kind of hidden in plain sight in Tbilisi. And
very center of Tbilisi.
In the center of Tbilisi.
I'm just going to describe this because I need to take one step back and say that when I was told about this particular cellar, I had been to Georgia. I'd seen this place. I'd fallen in love with this country. But I'm imagining somewhere along the river, there's a hole on the side of the wall, and you're going to crawl in, and there's going to be rats, and then of course there might be some kind of trap that you have to avoid. And no, this is below a Chinese restaurant, and there's a Mexican restaurant above, and some other good Georgian restaurants. But I had eaten above this place just 2 weeks before, and below me It's 40,000 bottles of some of the greatest wine that's ever been made with the greatest story. And I was right there. And I'm like anticipating, I cannot imagine where this is going to be. It's like, oh, I've been here.
Hidden in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight. So the implications of this, what it can do, I want to ask just as a Georgian, and I know you've been asked this many times, I'm sure. As a Georgian, what does this mean to have this here? There's all this, like the birthplace of wine. There's a little bit of marketing to that title. I mean, this area, there was no Georgia 8,000 years ago. It's northern Iran, Armenia, Georgia, the South Caucasus. This area is one of the richest, most interesting places in the world. I mean, it's arguably, there's a lot of foundation of the Bible and things that are from this area. But now that Georgia exists, and now that Georgia, you have to come here, you understand everybody makes wine. Wine is more integrated into this culture than any place I've ever been. More than France, more than Italy, of course, more than the United States. Georgians love wine in a way that I did not know was possible. And so for that being just said...
It's a little bit obsessive, basically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obsessive.
I think that there is, out of 200 nations, we are in top 3 or maybe number 1 in terms of the wine culture and being integrated into our...
number 1 for sure.
Every day, number 1.
Number 1 for sure.
It's number 1 for sure.
It's not even a comparison. And I mean, in France, wine is a way of life.
Yeah.
But in Georgia, life is a way of wine. It's a totally different thing.
Georgia is located between 3 big empires: Persian, Ottoman, and Russian Empire. Mm-hmm. And out of
sounds fun.
Yeah, sounds fun. Out of 20th century, we've been conquered. 18th century of history, of 18th century, we've been conquered. So the Georgians are saying, that's our belief anyway, that because of 3 things we survived. We not only we survived, we kept our language, religion, even script, which is like a crazy, it was tiny nation to manage to do that. And
your language has no connection. It's not Slavic, it's not Turkic, it's not anything.
It's Indo-European or whatever, none.
Yeah.
It's like a standalone language. Mm-hmm. So basically we survived because of 3 things. One is we have high mountains, so we would run into up in mountains. We built the towers there, and we were like hidden in the towers, and we were throwing these, arrows, etc., to defend ourselves. And because of the grapes. So the 3 things which enabled Georgian nation to still exist.
Yeah.
So the grape and vineyard is our way of existence. So that's why we as a nation exists. So we love it.
Yeah.
And there's a legend in Georgia, and I think it's true. When the Georgians would go to war with the enemy, they would fix the vine on their uniforms. So if they died, that after the death, the vine would grow.
So they had like a clipping,
on their uniform, at the back or in the front. Basically, they would clip the vine. So basically, if they died, that the vine would be alive. And it was always a struggle for the enemy. It was then they had to chop out our vineyard to make us cave, and this was like it's kind of for us the holy grail, the vineyard and wine. Also having not only being that wine was first made here, it's actually Vitis vinifera was first domesticated here.
Right.
So all the Vitis vinifera exist, including Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, etc.
Screaming Eagle.
Screaming Eagle. Their wines are traced back to Georgia.
Is there a chance you guys can levy a tax on everybody? Just maybe like a 1 penny a bottle?
But we are too nice.
Okay,
to do that.
Fair.
And we have low taxes. We don't believe in high taxes.
Yeah.
In general, so
I should move here. So with the cellar being here, what does this mean?
So basically, not only that we domesticate Vitis vinifera, we made first wine, but we also have all this collection of wine.
Yeah.
On top of it. So it's the 3rd thing. So it's for wine nation like Georgia, having the oldest cellar in the world, it's also very nice.
One question I have for you is, how does the Stalin of it all fit in? Because Stalin, obviously, whether he procured the cellar, saved the cellar, preserved the cellar, whatever it is, doesn't matter. There's an involvement there. But every single time I try to bring up Stalin, there's definitely, understandably, a nervousness about talking about him.
Well, of course.
How do you rectify these 2 things? The fact that Stalin is from Georgia, and I've read he's not the best guy.
We are not very proud.
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? So Georgians, we are very proud that he is from Georgia. Look, this is a fact of life, right? So we have the cellar. Apparently, according to some history, he has protected and moved these bottles here. Now it belongs to Georgians as a Georgian state and Georgian nation, and we need to use best out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's basically. I think we need to be more pragmatic here.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, go ahead.
I mean, I think that, if Georgia's most controversial son and the wine cellar that he either amassed or protected or what have you ends up kind of creating more awareness of Georgia and its wines, then, I don't know, there's kind of a sweet sort of, I don't know, justice to that. It's long overdue.
As a person, obviously this is going to be a part of one of the biggest movies I've ever attempted to make, the most ambitious thing I've ever tried to do. I think, at least. I mean, if Irakli, you don't kill me in the process. I think that the Stalin aspect is very sexy. I'm not going to lie. For Americans, it's like, holy shit, Stalin's cellar. Stalin's lost. I mean, I personally find the Romanov thing to be a little more interesting and probably a little more true as far as what it is, but
there's something for everyone.
Yeah, there's something for everyone in there, especially if you're like a middle-aged dad. How did you get the government to say yes to this?
The good thing that Georgia is a very small country, and everybody knows everybody. And very old friend of mine who is, we are friends for 35 years, is the Minister of Agriculture, who basically this cellar belongs to that Ministry of Agriculture. And we over the glass of wine, we were chatting, and we said that, this is cellar, this is something which can put Georgia on the collector's map, on fine wine map. We need to premiumize Georgian wine, and this will help us. And he totally loved the idea. David Sogolashvili, minister, is a great guy.
I interviewed him,
yeah. He's a great guy. He said that, Irakli, let's do it. And then he moved in, and actually he did it. It's like mine was like just sharing the idea, and he said that it's such a great idea to popularize the Georgia wine. And he is from Kakheti. Kakheti is our winemaking region.
It's kind of your Burgundy, right?
It's our Burgundy, yeah. It's our top, best terroir, etc. is in Kakheti. And he's been a son of Kakheti, and he said, okay, I'm going to do it. And he did it, actually. It's not, my participation there is very small.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Well, I mean, wine helped.
He's being humble. His participation was huge.
I just, for the listener, I just want people to understand Georgia is a country that is small, but there's a lot of levels of bureaucracy like any other country. I mean, in the United States, there's 1,000 levels you have to go through to do anything. Here, it feels maybe a little less, but there's a feeling, and there was a feeling during the opening of it that was like, everyone wasn't totally sure they wanted to do this. There was just this feeling of like, this needed to be, it does feel like there's still like, should we have opened this or should we have not?
I think they were feeling the weight of the moment. This is a huge, huge moment for Georgia just on the international stage. And I think that any trepidation that you were feeling, it was palpable, I think, just because they want to be certain, 100% certain of what's actually in there. Opening it for the first time, there's no way to do that. We're starting the process. I think that everyone in the world is going to have some patience for how long this is going to take. I just think that...
Have you gone to the internet before? No, I don't know about the patience part, but
there's
okay.
plenty of patience there, right?
Sure.
I think that any nervousness, though, was just due to the fact that, they want to be sure that there was actually wine in there. And guess what? There was.
There is a tremendous amount. And obviously, this is something I'm jumping out of my own skin. I cannot wait. But this is also a story that, like you're saying, we're going to tell right and, not rush this out, which is why we want to at least touch this with the podcast to start. I'm just going to ask a question. What do you think that cellar's worth? Dollars? Like, if you were to guess, how much money is in there? Because that's going to be the number one question. People listening, they're going to be like, "What's it worth?"
I have no idea. It's a lot.
Like $10,000?
That's your guess?
No, I just wanted you to laugh.
I think some bottles can go for $1 million.
Yeah, I know. I that's kind of what I was thinking.
Some people will pay $1 million for a bottle of Ticam or...
What do you think the oldest bottle in there is?
It's 18th century.
So 1700s. Is there any truth? Because I heard from numerous people that there's wine that was intercepted that belonged to Napoleon on a ship, and it ended up in there. Do you believe that there is wine from Napoleon in that cellar?
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we should not exclude anything. The best thing is that there is science exists.
Right, that's a good point.
And basically, scientifically, it is not that difficult to prove the bottle how old the bottle is. So I was talking to Pierre Lourdon, the president of the DKM, and he came for the opening. Actually, he was symbolically, he opened the cellar because there are a lot of DKMs there. And he was saying that Irakli, it's very easy to authenticate. We know exactly the bottles. They have it in the cellar in DKM, the 1845s, the 1835, etc. And we can actually, with the cork and the bottle, you can easily authenticate. Mm-hmm. It's not a problem. So the question is that the Georgian government has a lot to do to authenticate 25,000 to 40,000 bottles of
Are you guys going
wine.
to try to do every single bottle in the cellar? I mean, obviously some you'll find and it's like, okay, this is the same, these are the same
Yeah,
block.
probably there will be batches.
Yeah.
Most likely. Not most likely, but there will be batches. I talked with David, and they will be sending the bottle to UC Davis as well. Some TVs, welcome to film it.
Oh shit, when is that going to happen?
Yeah.
We're going there right now?
As soon as possible.
Okay, good.
Put in touch the UC Davis guy with me, and I will put you in touch with wine agency, and they are very happy to have an authentication.
This is happening on mic. This is something I've been petitioning for this whole week, so this is amazing to find out while we're talking. I will connect you to Ben Montpetit, former guest of the show and future guest of the show as well, the head of enology at the lab.
Yeah, and basically, the good thing about the government is that they are very confident these are very, very old bottles, and they are original.
They are. Listen, we do not have to worry. This is not. There's nothing in this.
Yeah,
the conversation about this being a fake or a forgery is out the door. I've been in this cellar, so I just want to tell you, we were able to go into the cellar and do some filming for the upcoming movie, and while in there, I'm taking a close look at some of the lips of the bottles and one thing I was looking for in particular was bottles that were two pieces fused together, which is a telltale of a certain year.
Yeah.
And then there's also hand-blown bottles, which are a different situation. I saw both. I found those both. And what it tells me is likely early 1800s for the one, and very likely pre-early 1800s for the other. And, as a person who's had the very good fortune of tasting and seeing, and now I have a lot of bottles on my shelf from Madeiras and reused bottles from World War II when there was not a lot of glass available. So they would, the Chem themselves rebottled in things that were very old because they had no glass. And so I personally, I don't consider myself an expert, but I consider myself somebody who has drank a lot of old wine and done a lot of stories. I'll tell you, there's some incredible stuff in that cellar. Yes. And I only had an hour. I don't think the forgery thing is even in the question. There's nothing, that's not it. I think the question is all the wine drinkable still? And I think the answer is probably not.
Nah.
But I think...
Probably 10%, yeah.
I think maybe more.
Maybe
10%?
more.
10%? If you're talking 40,000 bottles, I think more than 10% is drinkable. But that's also... I would be very upset with the person who buys this and opens it. I don't think you should ever do that. Unless, of course, aliens invade or something, or zombies come up, then you go, screw it, I'm opening that bottle. But other than that, I think this is a bottle that represents something much bigger than to consume, unless it's on your deathbed. I think that this is, like I said, like Picasso. The fact that these still exist is a miracle. It is a miracle. And the fact that they do here, in a place that everybody has tried to conquer and everybody has done terrible things for 1,000 years, that this cellar is sitting there from World War II on in one of the most tumultuous times that this country has ever seen is a miracle. That's it.
Perhaps it's because of that,
Interesting.
Georgia has been through a lot in the last 100 years. And I think that that's probably the reason why this cellar has, remained really just known only by rumor to locals and hasn't really, made any headlines outside of Tbilisi even until just now. So it's almost, something to be grateful for, all of the turbulence that has almost enabled the cellar to remain untouched for as long as it was. Because I'm sure it wasn't, otherwise under lock and key for, much of the 20th century.
Yeah, I don't understand how it hasn't been pillaged.
I was thinking the same, man. I think that that's our wine culture. Because the Georgians appreciate wine so much, they didn't touch it, basically. It was a crime to touch this. And not crime literally, but a crime in terms of the Georgian spirit towards the wine, So it was, and that's why it survived, because our wine culture.
It's a very, very, very amazing elixir of things that have come together to do this. I'm always looking for things where I can tell stories about other things through wine, and there has never been a prism like this cellar. Never. You could go 100 directions in how you would talk about geopolitics or Stalin or the Romanovs. And for Americans sitting in the center of the country, they may think this is not something that touches them, but I will tell you, this is the definition of Western civilization. Really, truly. I mean, in 40,000 bottles, this is the story.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible thing. I want to just end this with a question to you, in that if you could do anything with this cellar right now, what is it that you would personally do? I mean, is it the same thing that the government wants to do, auction them off, or what would you do besides put them in your house?
I don't want to own any bottle out of that. I just want to go and see from time to time. I think we need to be pragmatic, and I think that our government is pretty pragmatic in that, to raise some money for the education and viticulture and winemaking. It's a great thing to do, but also to keep it as a museum. So we can do both, and I think that I like this both thing. You need to find the middle ground. There is no truth. One way is always right, or another way is wrong. And I think that this middle ground is I like it a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. Alex, let me ask you just one quick question before we get out of here. Why is this cellar an important story for Americans?
I think it's an important story for the world. We were talking about this earlier, but Georgia is in such an interesting place geopolitically, right? Its geography just kind of makes that what it is. It's also, its biggest industry, aside from tourism, is wine. The fact that the cellar is here is so important. The fact that you're here is so important symbolically. The fact that people are paying attention to this is important for Georgia. Georgia will always be kind of, in a bit of a fragile position just because of where it's located. Having the West fall in love with this story and with Georgian wine, potentially, as a result of the story, if this makes people want to travel here to see the cellar, if this makes people aware of Georgian wine, if this makes people, in America, anywhere in the world, want to crack open a bottle of Georgian wine just because they're curious, because they heard the story, that is of paramount importance, not just to Georgia's economy, but, for Georgia's, continued survival. And I think that that's the reason why everyone should care, not just about Georgian wine, but about the cellar and about Georgia in general. I
think that Georgia inventing the wine and the vitis vinifera, etc., it is kind of our contribution to the world. So each nation has some contribution. And now wine industry being in such a big crisis, I think Georgia should play its role of saving it. And I think this cellar also is a symbolic way how Georgia can contribute to wine industry of saving it. And this is how I also look at it, that we Georgians invented wine for the rest of the world, so the rest of the nations, and we need to help the industry to survive. We need to have our contribution. We cannot do it single-handedly, obviously, but we have our contribution. And I'm launching my fine wine in the most difficult time for the wine, and I love it, because this is a kind of it's more exciting than, launching when everything is good.
Well, there's a full circle here, and we'll do this for just a second. There's some of the greatest wines that have ever been made in this cellar, and you are, I don't think anybody would argue, this is not a commercial for you, it's just a fact. You are the de facto top luxury wine in the country. I mean, you really are taking what the great material that's already here, and they make great wines here, but you're taking it to a level that I have watched you and people who are listening and subscribers to Sam TV and everyone else, you will not believe this guy. You will not believe the wines he's making. You will not believe the personality, all of that. I mean, it's a different podcast, but your wines are truly a part of what you're talking about Georgian wine moving to what the next level is. And honestly, there's a lot of people who are going to be blown away.
And what is the wine called directly?
That's marketing PR right there.
I'll keep it a secret. Let's not talk about it.
No,
wine now.
we'll talk about it now.
No, but I mean, basically, the terroir. When we talk about terroir wines, I'm a big believer in terroir. There are great terroirs all over the world, but there is an original terroir where Vitis vinifera was born. That's where Vitis vinifera is thriving and it feels home. People have never tasted the terroir. My mission in life now is to help the wine appreciators to taste the terroir. And the terroir tastes amazing. And they deserve to taste the original terroir of Vitis vinifera.
Boy, are they going to love the episodes we have coming with you. Anyways, well, I appreciate you both so much. There's so much more coming on. What are we calling this? Stalin cellar? The Romanov cellar? What the hell are we calling this?
Great question.
Yeah.
I think we'll continue to refer to it kind of colloquially as Stalin cellar, but
I think it's a world's oldest cellar.
world's oldest cellar. There we go.
Yeah, we'll work on that. So, all right, everybody, thank you. I appreciate it so much, truly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
I want to thank everybody for listening. Look, this is an ongoing conversation, and we are going to get down to the bottom of what's in this cellar, what the story is. But I will tell you, boy, oh boy, is it a good one. So stay tuned to Som TV. We're going to have more podcasts on this cellar as a whole. Obviously, we're going to have episodes and our feature film coming, The Secret Life of Wine, which is just, oh boy, I just cannot wait for all of you to see this wild thing. We will talk very soon. Go to Som TV, watch Echoes of Wine. I want to thank my podcast producer, John Adams. I want to thank Alex and Irakli for taking time to speak with me on this, and you're going to hear more from them as well. And I want to thank you for listening. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast if you're a big fan. We really appreciate it. It means a lot. All right, everybody, drink something crazy, and we're going to talk very soon. Bye-bye.